gospel, light of the temple. Sword swing, killer live from the ghetto. The hood messenger, let them know hell's close. Black burial, the devil in a black cloak.
Yo, what is up? Welcome to the Street Gospel Podcast. I'm your host, Dave One. And this is episode number... Yo, Cam, what episode is this? Episode number 89. Yo, if you checked out the last episode, we had Christian Nugent, Inkvaders, all the way from Switzerland. That was a good episode. If you haven't checked out that episode, Christian definitely has a good story, got a good heart. Definitely an amazing tattoo artist. It was kind of funny how we connected through the internet at first, and then he's like, hey, man, I'm coming to California. I'm staying right down the street. And so we definitely had him come through. It was a great episode. So check out that episode. Like always, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that follow. If you like the podcast, please share it with somebody. Send it to them. You know, I know every podcast is not going to be for everybody. That's cool, but it's for somebody. So make sure you send an episode to them. But today, we got a guest, man, and it was pretty cool how this guest came through. It was a divine intervention. I saw him do a post. I liked the post. I started following him. I went back to comment on the post. I tagged my pastor, Pastor Adam Friedrich, and then Pastor Adam texts me and he goes, hey, I know Byron. He used to work out at the gym we work out at. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, here's his number. I hit up Byron, and he's here today. So he is a believer.
Yes.
He is a Marine.
Absolutely.
He is a combat veteran.
Let's go.
He is an executive protector,
Yep.
a civilian mentor, trainer. He does it all, man. He does it all. So I want to welcome to the Street Gospel Podcast, Mr. Byron Rodgers.
Boom. What's up, brother? It's such an honor to be here. I love it, man.
Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, 100%. It was supposed to happen, man. This was always supposed to happen, right?
I was, because it was a trip, man, because it happened fast, too.
Yeah,
100%. That was the trippy thing about it. It happened super fast, and I love what you're doing, man. All your posts. I love, you know what's funny is I have a friend that does a lot of protection, and so I was like, I always, big Mel.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, and I'm always like, Mel, come through, come through. I like this part. I want a guest to talk about this and the importance of this.
Right.
And then I started seeing your post and I was like, there's no way I can get this guy. I'm like,
No, man, it's such an honor to do what we do, especially professionally. One of the things that I've always, there's like two halves to the industry, right? Like there's the whole quiet professional OG side, right? So that's probably maybe your boy Mel's like, look, man, we just don't,
Yeah.
But for me, when I started to come out and make media and do all the things that I do, there was no one else in the space, So my brand blew up halfway because I was the only one that was just like, yo, I'm gonna bring us out of the dark ages, So that's a highly controversial thing, but it served a lot of people and it served the industry in a huge way.
I was thinking about protectors,
Yeah,
and people that love to protect. It should be part of every man, right?
Yeah.
It definitely should be part, but it's not.
not anymore, not these days,
Right, not
it's,
these days.
It's super organic though, It's like
Right. It's in us, right?
it's part of our, like, if we had a great commission as men, like organic to our biology, it's part of our makeup. It's who we are. Even for the females, like when we're at work, like she's got the house, like she
Right.
is the protection detail, So it's an organic part of the human experience, and it's also one of our basic needs. Like you need food, water, shelter, you need all those things, but if you can't protect it, you just got it for somebody else. You know what I'm saying? You're a warm holster for, like you're a warm walking holster. So let's go, So yeah, man, it's something that we've maybe been conditioned not to realize is our responsibility.
Right. I think I was seeing some videos the other day, and a guy I follow, jiu-jitsu guy, Tom DeBlas, was posting these videos of in New York how these women are getting like punched in the face.
Bro, I posted on this. Yeah.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
So I was tripping out on that, right? And then Maybe I saw the video with you when the youngsters jumped in. They jumped that guy.
No, I didn't see. I would love to see that. I hope that's what's going on. Okay.
Maybe Tom posted it, but
yeah,
I seen this lady, and it was like a far shot, like maybe somebody in 3 stories up, and they I don't know why they were filming, but they're filming, and this guy punches this woman in the face. She backs up, tries to punch her again, and this youngster comes and just lays that dude out.
Good.
Boom. And then 4 other dudes jump on him and just go to town on him. And they get the lady. The lady takes off. Yeah. And I just thought, man, who are those kids, man? Yep. Because that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, 100%. Masculinity is self-correcting. You know, you go to a highly masculine environment. You go to you go to the gym. You go to the mats. Like, masculinity is self-correcting. There's that guy that's walking around that thinks he's hard. You know what I'm saying? Or there's that young buck that's like just now starting to get a little torque. He's getting a little gas. Like, he thinks he's hard. And the older crowd is going to teach him how to keep the ego in check. Is going to teach him how to create a healthy ego. Like, what is this strength for? One of the number one questions that you need to answer in masculinity as you develop is, what is your strength for? And then I think you arrive, if you're develop in a healthy way, you arrive at the understanding that your strength is for service. Like, the stronger I am, the higher the level I can serve, you know, and there's honor and glory attached to that for the man. And I think that we just ran into a long answer here. Right?
No, I'm good. I'm listening, man. That's good.
I think it's one of the huge, like, most quintessential questions that masculinity is trying to solve right now, and why we see such an epidemic in this world when it comes to violence. You know, like, the quality of society is dictated by the quality of its men. Like, what makes it so that women and children can walk down the street safely is the quality of the males in that environment. Like, if they call for help, will males show up ready to do violence on their behalf, right? Are there rogue young men running around, military-age males running around, doing crime and things like that? It all comes down to the codes that the men are adhering to. And a lot of those kind of codes and the things that men are adhering to have to do with gaining power, and why do I have this power, and how do I gain significance with this power? And when you start to study, like I do, a lot of these active shooter situations and things like that, you start to see that it's all being done by males, young males for the most part. We just now have a few that have kicked off with, like, you know, the Decepticons are getting in there. You know what I'm saying? They're rolling in there smoking. But like really, it's a masculine issue. Whether your streets are safe or not is a masculine issue. All the gangsters, all the warriors, all the, you know, cops and all the firefighters, all the military, it's all men. And so answering that first question, what am I going to do with this strength? What is the significance of it, and how do I, like, do something good with it is one of the questions we have to help these guys answer, you know? And so when you have healthy men in an environment, that starts to happen really organically, because, you know, you almost inevitably got to fight your dad at some point. You know what I'm saying? like, you know, that stuff happens, you know?
I tried that.
Right? I still could probably not take my dad. You know what I'm saying?
I still remember my dad doing, like, this crazy sweep on me. I was, like, in the backyard, and I'm like, you know, I'm thinking I'm young and everything. He does this little sweep on me. I land on my butt, and I was like, what was that? And he starts laughing.
Yeah, man.
Like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, you fight like a younger man. Admirable, but mistaken. Yeah, right? Yes. Right. Bane. So, yeah, man, I think that's one of the big questions dudes are trying to solve right now. And in a society that is attacking the identity of both men and women simultaneously, it's even more confusing. And that's why I think things like what we're doing right now is so good. Like, for them to see a well-adjusted, well-established, you know, strong male that has honor, that has his family intact, that is respected in the marketplace, like, you know, it makes me very happy when I see young men look at me, like, in the gym or, you know, on a stage, or when I roll in, you know, into these environments where I have honor, and they kind of, like, wonder, and they're like, like, how can I, you know, and they, like, looking at your arms, try not to look at your arms, you know what I'm saying? This is the stuff we need in our society. Right. It's like, this is the path, gents, you know, but it comes at a cost, and that's where people fall off.
And then you're approachable. Right?
Absolutely.
I think that's the thing too. You're not just the meathead in the gym that just flexes on all the young dudes. Like, I'm sure you're approachable, where if a young guy comes up to you, hey man, and asks you a question, I think they were missing that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably, and I love this and hate this, but I'm probably almost outgoing. So, like, when I'm in an environment, now mind you, I'm working out, and, like, it's therapy session. Like, I don't want to talk to anyone, actually. You know what I'm saying? Right?
Of course.
But I make it a point to give honor. Like, I see someone, I'm going to say good morning. I'm going to give them a nod. You know what I'm saying? I'm that guy walking through the gym, like, we're on the same football team. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I just want to give honor, and I want everyone to start to get used to that and follow suit, and it creates this like feeling of community in the gym. I'm also socially engineering in a situation so that if I do have to choke somebody out in the gym, they're like, nah, bro, that black dude was a cool dude. He opened the door for the old ladies. He's been here, you know, nice to people. Like if he had to knock that guy out, that guy was the guy.
That was the problem. Yeah.
So like I'm always social engineering that up from a protective standpoint. But one of the biggest things I notice with this modern generation that breaks my heart is like they might have the muscles, they might have the this and that, but they like can't look you in the eyes. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so when you're walking through the gym and you know, you see one of them and they're just like, they're acting all like big and bad, but like they like can't look you in the eyes and they're like too busy. Like they purposely can't just look at you and just say like, morning, bro, like anything, you know what I mean? And I'm like, you have no honor. Like in the hood, you could get jumped for like not looking somebody in the, you know what I mean? And so it's a very deep equation that's hard to articulate, but like it kind of breaks my heart when I see dudes that are too insecure to just look somebody who might be greater than them or stronger than them or even isn't and pay that respect forward. Cause it's respect is like the equity. Respect is the currency of masculinity, you know? And it lets me know that in some ways they're probably broken. You know?
Yeah, I think it's hard for those young men to learn that early.
Right.
Like, my friends used to trip out on Cam because right away they'd meet him and he's like 9.
Yeah.
And he'd go, hey, how's it going?
Boom. Yeah. Right.
And
Let's go.
They would be like, what? And I was like, yeah. But I see young guys now and I'm like trying to talk to them and I'm thinking they're going to be like that, right? And sometimes they don't look me in the, like you said, they don't look you in the eye. It's a one-word answer. You ask them a few questions. You're nudging them a little bit, like, hey, man, and they just can't. They just don't get it.
Yeah,
you know, it's hard for them.
And I think the OGs are the ones that, you know, like I remember one of my favorite pastors, Ron Carpenter, talks about masculinity, and he says a lot of your identity comes from your father. And it's one of the reasons we take our father's last name. And I think the older generation of men, it's our responsibility to take those young bucks and be like, hey, bro, like no matter where you are, if you see another man, like address him, look him in his eyes, shake his hands, even if he's greater than you, if he's twice your size, like you need to for sure then give that respect forward, you know, and that's how you establish yourself as a respectable guy, regardless of what armor and artillery you're bringing to the fight, you know, and not understanding those codes of conduct, it speaks to what we're missing so much in the world and the insecurity that then ends up driving these guys to find maladaptive behaviors to try and acquire the inner psychic validation that they need, and that is where the traps are, you know, in our society, you know?
Yeah, I think it gets, it's a little mixed up in there when I think we live in a society where there's fatherless homes. Maybe the father and the mother are working like crazy, so the kids are left to kind of raise themselves, you know? And so these young men get raised up and they don't have a role model, and they want respect when they're like 15 because they think respect is what they hear from the street, right? Right. But give respect, you'll get respect.
Yeah, and that's why in the gym, like anywhere I go, like I mean, it's let my light shine, and I want to be in the marketplace, and I want to be showing people. I just want to be an example of what a strong, well-adjusted, comfortable, confident, competent actual man really is. And you know, and sometimes there's those cats that just can't look you in the eyes. It won't. That I'll like chase them down, and I'm like, yo, what up, dog? Good morning, bro. Good to see you. You made it, bro. Good to see you here. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, good to see you here. Get it, bro. Get after it. You know,
right?
Or I'll see a dude who's like struggling with his weight, man. Like this morning, like I got a tag on a dude right now. I got a hit out on a dude right now. Like he's in the gym. He's overweight, but he's been in the gym for like 2-3 months. I'm gonna get him next time.
Wrong.
And now, like, you know, I kind of joke with him and stuff like that. But I'm going to encourage him next time I see him. I'm going to be like, hey, bro, you know, like if you stay on this path that you're on right now, if you can stay on this path and you can overcome this little weight thing you have, it is going to positively impact every single area of your life. It is going to positively impact your professional trajectory, your ability to have high quality relationships, your own personal brand. Everything that you're about is going to be positively, you're inner psychically when it comes to your identity and who you know you are. You're building who you know you are right now. If you back out, that's going to be what's inside your head. Right. So I'm going to be like, yo, little homie, stay on this path, bro. Give it a decade of being hard and watch and see how your life changes. And no one's going to be able to take from you what you earn for yourself in this gym, because they ain't going to have been there when you was getting it. And that's what being a man is all about. And it's not a destination. It is a journey. So
true, man.
You know,
I think that's the bare minimum that you can do, is to get fit, right?
Yeah.
Get fit, feel good about yourself. You're able to raise your head up, right?
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't cost nothing.
Yeah.
You know, it just takes some discipline, waking up early, getting in there.
Yeah, no, and it does. I think sacrifice is the language of God, you know what I'm saying? And I think that I see my life now in like phases, you know, so I tell this story, right? If we got a couple minutes, right? Of
course.
Yeah, story, right?
Of course.
So I'm sitting here and I'm on a protection detail, right? So, you know, bodyguard for, you know, some of y'all. Executive protection is like kind of it's looked at as a higher level of that, right? So essentially I'm a bodyguard. Lots of beautiful experience by the grace of God. I got into the industry by the grace of God. That's another miracle story I can tell later. But I'm sitting at the foot of the Eiffel Tower and I'm with a crew. And this crew is a bunch of savages, like Navy SEALs, Recon Marines, one of the most well-known power lifters in the world, Konstantinovs. You guys can look him up. God rest his soul. He was one of my big brothers in the game. He's gone now. But I'm sitting here with these dudes, and I'm like the cuddliest, like most less lethaliest guy. Like I'm like everybody's little brother. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, I did my deployment.
It must be a tough crowd.
Dude, it was a legit crew, and I'm sitting here with these dudes, and the waiter comes up, and you know we're putting our orders in, and I realize how expensive everything is in francs, and I'm like, yo, $20 for a Coca-Cola. Like I run the conversion in my head. I'm like $20 actual dollars for a Coke. Like, what's this Coca-Cola gonna do for me? Like, is this gonna, like, I'm like, what? Like,
does it have Coke in it?
Yeah, I know actual, you know, like I'm just sitting here like I'm doing backflips in my brain trying to be cool while I'm at the table with the boys. And I hear, you know, my Heavenly Father's like, yo, why you tripping over the Coca-Cola, man? You know what I'm saying? So my relationship with the Holy Spirit is like super. He is my Heavenly Father. He's always with me. We are having conversations. He's telling me when to zig and zag, you know what I'm saying? And so I just feel him being like, yo, why you tripping, bro? This $20 Coca-Cola. And I'm like, it's so expensive. This is stupid, you know? And he's just like, you are at the tip of the spear. You are 1% of the private security industry right now. You have essentially made it in terms of the goals that other people have. So why are you tripping? And I'm just like, well, I mean, I make pretty good money, but it is like, it's not like this is this is annoying to me. Like, and it's not okay, you know? And he's like, your gift will make room for you before kings. And I'm like, okay. My gift has made room for me and has got me to this point in my life. And I look around the table and I see what level I'm at with all these SF dudes and stuff. And I think to myself, well, what is my gift? And it's like, I'm a combatant and I've studied war and I've been to war and I'm focused on being physically strong. And this whole phase of my life has been strength centric, right? And combat centric. And this is as far as it's taken me. I'm making 6 figures at 21 years old, hitting 60 some countries a year. It's super dope, but it ain't good enough. Like, this ain't it. You know what I'm saying? And I start thinking like, and if one of us goes down today, you know, if one of us like dies or gets injured out there doing what we do today, that's it. It's curtains. And so I start having this conversation. There's a difference between strength and power. And then strength is like local to where I am. Like I have strength. Like this room right now is pretty safe with me and you hanging out in it. You know what I'm saying? Like we got it. This house is pretty locked down, right? So strength is just local to where I'm at. And my strength has taken me as far as it can take me. But what I need to figure out how to generate is power. And I'm like, who has power? And I'm like, yeah, like the little 160 pound, like, like not physically strong guy who's literally in charge of all of us, who we're all trying to protect, who's at the Ritz-Carlton right now, taking a nap in the middle of the day, cold, chilling. He's going to come out. We're going to like carry him to the car. You know what I'm saying? Like he's going to ride on our backs during the thing. So I'm like, if one of us goes down, he replaces us in 24 hours and he doesn't skip a beat. He has influence, international influence. He's feeding him, you know what I mean? Like his organization, I have this whole vision. And it was like, you spent the first quarter of your life developing physical strength, and that did a lot for you. Now you need to spend the next portion of your life developing actual influence, actual power, so that you can actually impact things without having to literally be there, and you can provide on a much larger level. And so that's when my brain switched from just focusing on my physical to actually starting to focus on my mind, you know, and my heart. And I think that in order to be a well-rounded, an actual powerful male, because we see a lot of dudes who are juiced up or whatever, and I've gone down that road too, but it's just in the physical. And then you look in their eyes and you try to talk with them and there's nothing there. Wow. You know, and there's insecurity there and there's struggle there and there's all these things. And it's like, gosh, bro, like, you're gorgeous. Like, why you're jacked, you're gorgeous. Like, why are you struggling so hard? And it's because they haven't gotten to the second phase, and even less of the soul, right? Your mind, will, and emotions, and even less of them make it to the spiritual phase, which is the real battlefield, which is understanding spiritual development. My body gives me earth consciousness, right? I know I'm in this room because of my body. My mind gives me self-consciousness. My soul gives me self-consciousness. That's my mind, will, and emotions. And then my spirit gives me God consciousness. That's the spirit of the living God inside of me. It's telling me when to zig and when to zag and what to do. And I think a really healthy, strong, competent, powerful, loving, gentle man is the individual who has developed physically, in the physical and in the soul, mind, will, and emotions, and then also in the spirit. And I think that's really the goal. And I think that's a lot of what's missing in a lot of masculinity, even this whole high value male conversation, all this stuff, you know? And so I see it in sections. So to answer your question, I see like the first part of masculine development is so much, it is important to develop your physical because it does so much for you psychologically and different things like that. And even spiritually, like when I'm working out, like I'm talking to God, I'm praying in tongues half the time. Like we're having communion, you know what I'm saying? And then, yeah, you got to learn how to develop that soul, that mind, will, and emotions, you know, because if you're processing things in an emotionally unstable way and all the other things, like your faith and fear axis, like you just ain't going to get there. You know what I'm saying? And then if you can't tap into that spirit, you're going to lack the supernatural results necessary to achieve your destiny. You know?
All three go together, right?
100%. Because we're a triune being, man.
Right.
You know, we're
the Trinity.
Yeah, man. We're like our God. We're just like He said, make man in our image. You know, spirit, soul, body, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. The Son gives off heat. It has light and it has a body. And that's the way we roll, in my opinion. And what the Bible says.
I think when you're young, you can get the physical.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what it's about.
Easy.
It's like, let me see what I can do. Let me develop this thing. And, you know,
and then when you start getting older, you start developing the mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then the spirit is like a whole nother level.
Yeah, man.
Because I've talked to a lot of guys, especially on the podcast, and I've had a lot of different dudes. I mean, I had guys that I'm like, okay, this dude's real. You know, this is a tough dude. But when I ask about success, whether it be in the physical, business wise, I always ask them, you know, I said, can you be successful in all these things and suck at home? You know, and maybe not be the greatest father. Do you still consider that success? And it stops them in their tracks for a second, because I don't think everybody ever asked them, because we think this guy's, you know, stacked.
Like he made it. Like he drove up in a Bugatti.
Yeah.
Like, this is the dude I want to be.
I had guys drive up in a me and Cam were just talking about this when you pulled up in your ride right now.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you pulled up right now. And so we always laugh because I'm like our neighbors are probably, we've had people pull up in Bentleys, T-Rex, Hummer, you know, the old school Hummer.
Yeah, bro.
You know, bro. So I always think, you know, like these are successful dudes, but then I ask them, you know, you get to the bottom and underneath these layers sometimes, and in the physical, strong. Maybe in business, strong. Start talking about the home, not so strong. Start talking about the spirit. That's when they're like, hold up. Yeah. And it's a challenge for them, you know, because I always think like, I'm good spirit, I'm good mind. My body's getting a little rickety. Yeah. But I always think like, you got to have all three. I think that was a great 100%. Point that you made right now.
Yeah, no, I really do. And I think I have an edge because of a few experiences I've had in my life. I got hit with 60 some pounds of homemade explosives in Iraq. I had an out of body experience, and I begged God for a chance to come back, you know? So I got to go through this whole process of being like, thinking I was dead. And so I got to experience what you're probably going to think about when you're dying, you know, or when you realize like, oh dang, like that's it. Like it's curtains, you know? And so that I feel like it made me super conscious. Like it made me super like, yo, guess what, bro? We're both dying during this podcast right now. Like we're never going to get to do this podcast again, homie. I mean, like super in the moment and I'm never going to let, You know, like, and I'll tell you the story if you guys want, but I'm never going to let myself have that feeling again next time. It's time for me to go. And then, you know, also, you know, being in the executive protection industry since I was 21 years old, traveling with millionaires, billionaires, all the people that people want to be, I've just been able to just sit there and watch, bro, the carnage. Like everyone like wants to be this guy. I've had people come up to me on their private jets, and I'm sitting there behind my little stupid little computer on my stupid little laptop with my stupid little headset, and I'm like happy working on my little internet projects and all my little social media. And the dude who's the dude is like, I'm on his plane, and he's like looking at me, and he's like you're like, he loves me, but he's still inside. He's like, you're happy, like you're just fine, like you're good. And I'm just like, you know, like, yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, things are okay. And then he's in hell. Like he's getting a divorce and being audited and freaking about to get the plane repoed. And he's just looking at me like, you're on my plane traveling around on the world on my thing, and you're happy and I'm in hell. Like, how is this, you know? And so I've been able to see that those things don't actually quench, you know, and been able to recalibrate as a result of those gifts of struggle that I've had, you know.
Where did this all this come from?
Yeah.
Was it from your youth? Was it through just all the experiences? Did it start early? Did you know right away, like, I'm gonna be this guy, you know, I want to be, or well, maybe I want to be that guy. I want to be tough. I want to be the protector. I want to be a warrior. Was that developed early on? Did you know right away, or did it kind of come throughout the years?
So back to your father gives you a lot of your identity. My dad's is a warrior, like, and everything in our house is warrior. And my dad's a martial artist, and he got shot at point blank range with a shotgun, and he survived, and he still talks crap. And he lost like 60% of his intestines, and he still talks crap. You know, he's got a hole in him this big in his back. You know what I mean?
He's one of those.
Yeah, bro. Like, I still might have to shoot him. Like, if it really went down, like, I might not be able to get him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm still not trying to fight the guy. You know
Are you still afraid of your dad?
Yeah, you know.
A little bit.
Yeah. Right. Like, my dad's just that dude, man. And so
give you that look.
He's like a Tony Montana mixed with Donald Trump from the Bahamas, successful businessman, like, you know. So I think there was that influence that was huge. But I do remember, you know, like at a young age, always just being like, I'm a warrior. And I always remember being like, Father, like, is this bad? Like, how can I make this a good thing? Like, how can I serve it, like, and be a warrior? And I remember being in church and seeing all these dudes. And my mom, you know, when my parents split up, trying to like be like, hey, brother Jeff, my son needs a good role model, you know. And I remember sitting there just being like, brother Jeff's soft, okay. I remember being like, yeah, seems like a nice guy, but he ain't the type of guy I look up to. You know what I mean? Like, so there's something deposited in me at a young age. Like, they'd be like, hey, Byron, like, let's make I remember this class project where we were supposed to put all of our like heroes on like a shoebox. And mine just like had nobody on there. And it was like nobody. I remember the teacher being like, so who's your hero? I'm like, I don't have a hero. I'm like, the Holy Spirit is my only friend. It's like is my teacher. And I remember just her like, cause it was a Christian school. So like she got it, but she hated it. And I was just like, the Holy Spirit is my teacher. I don't look up to any of these people. And my mom, and I was like, yeah, Jeff seems like a nice guy, but he ain't hard enough. Like I could maybe take him, and I'm 9 years old, you know? So like, yeah, bro, it was just, you know, it's just a thing. But I think I get that from my pops, you know?
Right.
And God's just been with me since I was young. You know, I did a podcast where I gave my testimony and I called it Protected, you know, and it's just so beautiful to be one of, if not the most recognized protectors on the planet professionally, but then to know that I have a cloak, you know, of protection, and to know that I have a cloak of guidance and favor. And the only reason I'm here is because God has literally kept me, preserved me on so many levels, even especially physically, you know.
You seem like a genuinely nice guy.
Thank you.
But what does it take to bring out the warrior in you, man? Yeah,
no, I mean, unrighteousness. So like I am a very genuinely nice guy. I am probably, so I have a master's in psychology. So I've studied this out. And I'm on the spectrum probably of psychopathy, right? So I have no problem seeing it. There's a really interesting book, The Wisdom of Psychopaths, if you ever wanted. This is like, I read this book and it was like the first time I understood my emotional world.
That's me.
I have no problem saying that. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel seen for the first time in my life. So like, you know, I understand my emotions, and the CIA talks about having like the right amount of trauma, and just the right amount of trauma, how I can make the type of person that's really dynamic to deal with high levels of stress and things like this, and make a lot of decisions under that stress. And so I have this emotional world. I know my emotions, but my emotions are like misbehaving children. And so like I've been in multiple situations that were combative situations where I was going to have to put my hands on someone, where I've actually had to damage people, and where I've had to do things in the Marine Corps overseas. And in a lot of those situations, I was smiling. I was nice. I was like, look, man, like, we just don't want to do this. And I was like, calm down. Stay down, bro. Stay down. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you know, like, this is going to do you. I'm going to have to hurt you. Like, I don't want to hurt you. And so, you know, I think that being emotional is a weakness. I know my emotions. I choose my emotions, and I control how much of them I'm going to turn up and when I'm going to turn them up. So like maybe if I'm doing cardio on like the second or third mile, I'll allow myself to be emotional to push through a wall or something like that. If I'm in a combative situation, I'm focused on my mind being totally clear, and I'm focused on being like as just tranquil and clear-minded as possible, because it's not an emotional thing. It's a very logical thing. And so if I have to engage in combat, I'm thinking about my rules of engagement. I've written the police report before I've done anything, which is an extreme advantage. And I'm just going through that, you know. And I think the other piece that makes it easy to stay so calm is that, you know, I'm living my life on a daily basis, moment by moment, to where, you know, if I have to die, like, I went as hard as I could up into that point. And so, and I know that my Father won't let me fall until my time comes. And so I'm very kind of emotionally detached, but emotionally aware at the same time. And so I don't really get angry. The only times I've gotten angry is like disrespect, you know, and you know, there's a lot about like men crying and things like that. I don't remember honestly the last time I've cried, but I'm very, very like fine with being vulnerable. Like my life's an open book. Like I talk about my struggles all the time. It's in my book, all the things that I've done and the drugs that I did when I got out of the Marine Corps, and, you know, partying and like 10 pills of Molly a night, like every night of the week. I, you know, so I don't have a problem with, you know, with intimacy or vulnerability, but, I think that this goes into that second bucket of physical development into your mental, emotional, mind, will, and emotions, that soulish realm of development. And I would say these days, the thing that causes me the most pain would be like the thing that can aggravate me is disrespect, and not even so much disrespect towards me, because that's that person's problem. Disrespect towards someone in my crew, because then I get like protector triggered, right. You know, and even then I won't be mad, but I'll deal with it. Yeah. I will deal with it with a righteous anger, right? I try to hate the thing God hates, you know.
I think you're right on the money with controlling our emotions.
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume that's what separates a security guard from a actual executive protector.
Yeah, should be.
Where, you know, I'm not trying to blast security guards,
right?
But I'm just saying you're trained.
Yeah, there's levels.
There is levels to that, right? Mm-hmm. I think, and it starts with your mind. I think when you might overreact or not react, mm-hmm. or not know what to do, because you don't have that capability in your mind to say, okay, I know what to do, or mm-hmm. I know how to react, or I know how to bring this situation down. You're mm-hmm. just a guy with a badge. Yeah. And you, especially if it's professionally, you're just executing. Even if, you know, if we're in a firefight, if I'm with my boys, if we're in the Marine Corps, like, I'm just executing, and I have to execute in the most efficient and effective way possible. If it's my turn to die, like, I need to know that up until that moment, I made the best possible decisions I possibly could. And I cannot allow emotions to make that foggy. And so for me, it's just all about execution, and it's very non-emotional. And I take that and I put it in business as well. You know, I've had some tough years where we took
ridiculous amounts of damage. Like where we did, like, you know, my wife's like, we're done. And I'm like, we're not dead yet. I still need to wake. I still need to, I still can, God still got some moves. I got some moves. I'm waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning. We're getting after it. And I am just like, just hitting targets, man. Because like, if those emotions creep in and you stop thinking happy thoughts, well, Peter, you're going to stop flying, player. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this whole game, man, like I get on the phone with like hundreds of dudes. Like I do sales calls for my executive protection coaching, for my school, you know, and I'm talking to these guys, and I've helped hundreds of dudes into the industry, and I mentor hundreds of dudes on their careers, and they achieve success 90 days. They're making 6 figures in this game. And I sit there and I watch, and it amazes me. I get a dude, special forces background, jacked, tan, gorgeous, tall. Like I could just walk in and be like, this guy, to a client, and be like, this is the gentleman that will be protecting you instead of me today. And they're like, great, awesome. You know, like I can sell security with this guy. And it all comes down to his emotion to faith and fear. It always, your success, people's success comes down to their emotion, their relationship with faith and fear, and which goes deeper into their identity and what they believe they deserve and what they believe they can achieve. If you have God in your life, then how big your God is and how big you realize your God is, and the struggle credentials you have with him to where you know what you think you can do with him. But it all comes down to whether you're able to take these calculated risks. And I lay the plan out. I'm like, with me, it's not so much a calculated risk. I'm sitting here telling you, I can get you where you want to be. I'm a boss. Like I hire people. Like I'm literally telling you what's going to happen. But people's success comes down to their relationship with faith and fear. And it's just so crazy that it comes down to emotional intelligence. No matter how jacked and tan you are, like your emotional intelligence is going to be your tripping point, you know?
How bad is fear?
Yeah.
You know, fear can, I mean, we've seen it. I mean, they mask it now and call it anxiety. They call it a lot of different things, but it boils down to just being afraid.
Yeah. In my kind of like way, like my mental alchemy, right? Like I've like made a decision to make everything serve me, right? So like I keep fear close. Like I actually allow myself to be afraid because fear is the most powerful psychological motivator. But I don't let the fear have me, right? So like when you have fear, you're going to fight harder. You're going to listen more. You're going to be way more hyper aware. You're going to act like every day there's a fat version of Byron chasing me, right? Like, why am I going to not eat the cookie? Yeah, I want the 6-pack, but I don't want to be, I can't be fat, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't be fat. I already got fat kid genes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to watch out. Like, you know what I'm saying? I walk into a 7-Eleven, I see all the like colorful bags and I'm like, I'm like R. Kelly, they trying to kill me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, you know, so for me, like, I keep fear really close. Like I'm like, hey bro, you can't fail your team. You can't fail these deadlines. You can't fail your business partners. You can't fail your clients. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't fail your God. Like what's going to keep me from responding to that DM? You know what I'm saying? I allow myself to be a little bit afraid of that. And I call this push-pull motivation, and it's the mental alchemy of it, man. Do you have fear? Is it a fuel? You know, if I'm going to fight somebody, I have a healthy respect and fear for that person. Like, you never know, like, you know, some 9-year-old you didn't think was hard could put a pencil in your ear and freaking kill you in the streets. Anybody can kill you. You know what I'm saying? So I allow myself to have a level of fear that I can wield very well, and that doesn't cause me to freeze in the doorway. I'm running from what I don't want in life with a little bit of fear, and I'm running towards what I do want in life. I think the problem with people is they never do the work to understand what they're capable of, and they never put themselves in positions where they have to face these fears. I also realize though that like facing fears is like taking souls. Like I do things I'm afraid of because like you gain supernatural strength, you know, like David said, I killed the lion, I killed the tiger, I killed the bear, and now by the grace of God, I'm finna kill this Philistine. Like, if you don't have those struggle credentials with you and your God, like, you're not going to do anything.
Right.
And that's a journey, and it's a little by little thing. And so I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning because I'm afraid of failing at the promise that I gave God, which was, hey, I may never be everything you call me to be, but if you give me another chance to live, I'm going to go so hard in the paint. Like, I'm going to show up, and I'm going to be like, yo, you're at least going to say, yo, this little dude went as hard as he could. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know about little.
You know, but like, yeah, man, fear is the best fuel. It's just, you have to keep it under control.
Harness,
it's like
right?
a fire.
Harness it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, getting up there in age and people, you still come to jujitsu. Yeah. You know, you still try to eat right and work out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Because have a fear of being 60 and having to go to the doctor every week or taking pills or I want to live, a good, healthy, long life as much as I can. So there is a positive fear. I fear, letting God down. I fear, not pleasing him.
Yeah.
Those fears are good things.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't take fear as it's almost like a challenge.
Yeah, it really is.
Let the fear challenge you to get better. And then when you pass that fear, there's a new challenge,
dude. And then when you start to get an appetite for it, so now it's just like working out. Like you go work out, you feel the pain, you're like, oh, that sucked, and then after a while, you start to see the cuts and stuff, and you're like, that hurts so good, And you're like, I've learned so much more from pain than I've ever learned from pleasure. And then you start to get this like fear is a target indicator for me. So like, I got out of the Marine Corps. And I started to be like, well, geez, man, like I've been to war and like I've done all this stuff. I've been blown up. I'm like, I'm not really afraid of anything. And I remember being like, well, what am I going to do next? It's like, what are you afraid of? And I was like, well, I guess the only thing I'm still afraid of is school. And I remember because I went to the Marine Corps, literally they're like, Byron, there's a war. You're going to go to war like 2004 when you're joining the Marine Corps. And I'm like, that's exactly the point. I hate school. I was like, I hate school so much. I'm going to war. So, for me, I in some ways was running from that. And I remember getting out and being like, okay, well, I guess I'm finna, I need to face whatever the fear is, because your greatest opportunity for growth lies on the other side of whatever is the doorway of whatever fear you have. The amazing relationship you could have with the hot chick who doesn't get hit on as much as you think because she's so hot. Like it's a fear door. You know what I'm saying? Walk through the door. Who knows what could happen? Like the business, like why are you doing mental gymnastics and trying to figure out how it's not going to work because you're afraid? You know what I'm saying? Like so that fear. So I start hunting fear. And so now, like, I don't feel like I'm normal, and this could just be my way of having PTSD, which is like I just need that little bit of, let's go. Right. But like, the fear, man, like when I'm doing something that's greater than me, that I know I can't do by myself, and I'm placing a requirement on God to help me to achieve, otherwise I'm going to break apart in midair on my way to the sun. That's where I like to live, man. That's the razor's edge. And so if you don't have a little bit of fear about something you're doing, man, if you ain't growing, you're going.
You ain't living.
Yeah, right? You ain't really living. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
That's the good stuff.
I think a lot of people live that way, man.
My gosh.
It's a
sad,
sad way to go out.
Yeah.
And they start young. You know what I mean? They start very young. I was just like talking to my wife about this, and we're just like, people let themselves go.
Yeah.
Like early.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm a dad now. Let myself go. And
Right.
I'm like, man, you still have a lot of years left. You're like a 30-year-old dad with the dad bod or
It's impossible,
no goals, and you're just like, you're just satisfied with what you've accomplished in just 30 years. There's so much more.
No, there's so much more. And as a dad, like homie, you have to lead the pack, bro. Like you, as a dad, like you need to be respectable. Like your kid's gonna wake up and look you in the mother stinking eyes, bro. like you can't lead your kid farther than you've gone. Financially, you can't lead him farther than you've gone. Physically, you can't lead him farther than you. When he's trying to, court and find a good female, you can't lead him farther than you've gone, bro. I gotta, like, for me is like, I gotta go. Like there's so many skills I still need to integrate so that by the time my kids are that age, I can be like, hey, this is how you build a family trust. Hey, this is how you end up not in the slave trade for the next 40, 50 years of your life because you're an entrepreneur. Hey, this is how, so, your mom's counting on you, whether she realizes it or not. If you're a dude, your dad, everybody's counting on you. And you have to overcome these fear walls because you need to lead by example. And like you can read all the Bible you want. Your wife can read all the Bible she wants. You want her to open her eyes and see a respectable man and be like, yo, I organically, physiologically, and emotionally want to just follow this dude because he is respectable. Like you can say a lot of things about this dude, but he is getting after it, and that's one thing that like dudes need to like look in the mirror and realize you can't lead without that, You want your wife to lose weight, you got to lose weight.
Right.
You want your kids to be strong and powerful, you need to be strong and powerful. Like you are literally giving them like an energetic life experience, blood transfusion into their DNA every single day. And so when you're a dad, like you're just on the next level, and the game is even hard, like more important. You know,
Right.
to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna fail everybody that's counting on you, and you know,
And then for generations,
yeah,
maybe, you know what I mean? Just, you pass that down to your kids, it's going to go to your grandkids. And it's like, you can change the whole trajectory of your family.
100%. And it's like your job. Like, in my opinion, like, your family tree should literally be like, oh, and then there's these guys, and then there's this one dude. You know what I'm saying? And this one dude who would accept no limitations and just got after it.
Right.
And like basically made it so that if anyone else in our lineage ever measured up, they would literally have to find the cure for cancer. Like, that's the dude you should be, bro.
Right.
You know, and that's how you live, man. I mean, yeah, the dad game is so next level, because in the dad game, like, it's like before the dad game, like maybe in the bachelor game, you're just responsible for you, you know, like make yourself as the best you can make yourself, so you can, you know, score, like you can attract on the highest level you can attract on, you can provide on the highest level you provide on, you can bring a female into a kingdom, you know what I mean, or at least the beginning of a kingdom, you know. And then when you have a son, my gosh, like, it's like, or a daughter, it's like, for my daughter, I have to raise the bar. Like one of the most beautiful things my sisters say is, like, I've seen dudes hit on them. I got 5 sisters, right? No brothers.
Man.
Yeah, I had to learn to fight alone at a young age.
Man.
And one of the most beautiful things I've heard them say is, like, these dudes would be like, hey, what's up, girl? You know, da 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 da. And they're like, what's up, girl? Like, you think I can bring you home to my dad because you got some Jordans on? My dad will eat you alive. Like, they already intersect. They know the bar's up here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't bring you, this jokey guy, in front of my, like, it's embarrassing for me. You're embarrassing for me, for you. You know what I mean? Like, then you come to my dad's house, like, you got to do push-ups. You got to do, like, it's like you got to do 100 push-ups to have the conversation with Pops. You got to know the Lord's Prayer. If you don't know the Lord's Prayer, he will send you back out into the world. You know what I mean? Like, and you ain't going to do nothing, because he's like, you know, he's him, you know? So it's you know, and that's it. You know, you got to set the bar for your daughter. You got to set the bar for your son, and then for your wife, for your spouse. Like, yo, like, I mean, I personally, for me, it's like, I want, my girl's got to know that at any given time in that room, I'm at least in the upper 80th percentile of dudes. Or from when you picked me, like, I have continued to get better. I've been a good investment. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you can bring accountability with that. Like, hey, since you met me, this is where I was, this is where I'm at right now. And that brings with it a little bit of something too. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a reflective thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, so how you doing? You know what I'm saying? How's my investment going? You know what I'm saying? You can have those conversations.
Yeah.
You know, when you're doing right by yourself, your God, and everyone else.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys don't want to improve, right? They don't want to keep getting better. They want to be, oh, well, this is who I am. This is who you married. And my wife told me this one time, and I asked her, you know, how long have I been a great husband? She's like,
You ain't never been a good.
she's like 8 years, and at the time we were married 23 years.
Yeah.
So I got a little offended. She goes, "You always tried, but you've been in a great husband for the last 8, like an amazing husband."
I mean, I think that's like.
And I'm like,
8 years, my man.
you know, so I got a little offended though, because I'm like 8 out of the 23, man.
Yeah,
Come on,
like
now.
I thought I was batting a higher average.
Yeah, I was like,
What are we
that's not
talking
that great.
Yeah.
But then I began to think, well, if we're married another 23 years,
Yeah.
like that percentage goes super high now.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be, 31 years out of 40 something that I've been a great husband. Great. Let's do it. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of men say, this is who I am. I'm not going to improve. This is who you married, or this is how I'm going to be. There's no changing me. I think that's the wrong approach.
It's super dangerous, man. We live in this society with all these stupid ideas, like these dumb ideas, like dumb. Like I hear people say things like, "You don't accept me for me." Like, are you kidding me? Are you absolutely kidding me? Like, I don't like if I accept you for you, I literally don't love you. Like, I'm going to challenge every single person in my life to be the best person they can at all times. You know, like I absolutely don't love me for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am trying to be better because I can only ever bring to you the best version I can be. And I owe it to you and God, who put me here, and everyone else, to bring you guys always the best, you know? And like, there's another one. There's all these like self-acceptance kind of conversations happening that are absolute dribble, and they're corrosive psychologically. But the thing is, depending on where you're at in that whole relationship with yourself in terms of faith, fear, being able to face yourself, having the courage to face yourself is the hardest thing. And if you're at a weak place with those things, you're going to want to believe this gospel of mediocrity, which is just like, it's literal death to who you could be. You take it, like, I think of a person as like a seed. Like, you have a seed, you put it on this table for 10 years, nothing happens. And that's 90% of the people on this planet. Nothing happens. You take that same seed, you plant it in the ground, you give it water, you give it sun, you give it pressure from the earth, you give it nutrients, you give it these elements. The God-given destiny in that seed will start to come out. You chop the seed open, you just see the inside of a seed. It's nothing amazing, but there's a God-given destiny in that. And you have to give yourself these elements of discipline and determination and everything you learn on the journey of trying your best to genuinely be the best you can be. It's not about being perfect. It's about trying to be the best you can be. And that is the most amazing way to live, because what happens is you start to realize what you can do. Like you do that for 90 days. You're going to have experiences where you're like, wow, I didn't even know I was even almost close to bro. I wake up every morning in a house where I'm like, how did my black get in this house? I'm like, God is good. How did I, like, I'm just like, Father, like, wow, like I have I like the fruit in my life, as a result of this, going on this journey with my Heavenly Father. Like, I never thought I would, like, you know what I mean? And so then I would be able to achieve these things. And I'm just like a chubby, kind of half dyslexic kid from a third world country in the Bahamas. You know what I mean? I didn't have both parents, and like, I'm dyslexic, and like, I'm black, and like, I got a full hand, bro. I got cards for days if I want to drop them, but not accepting any of that. And, looking at people and they're like, oh, it's okay, you tried. I'm like, it's not okay. I didn't win. It's not okay. And there's just few people that'll sit there and tell you that. And it's a love language, man. That challenge is a love language, and it's masculine love. And we are out of balance between masculine and feminine love right now. Feminine love is about acceptance, and it's about nurturing, and it's necessary, and it's important. But masculine love is not about acceptance. It's about challenge. It's about raising the standards. It's about telling you, hey, son, that wasn't good enough. You need to go back out there and you got to do it again, buddy. Well, it's dark right now. Guess what? You got to do it in the dark, player. You know what I'm saying? This is a life lesson, you know what I'm saying? And that's what we really desperately need. And the unfortunate thing is, you got to do it for yourself first. And if you're coming from parents who couldn't do it for themselves, then guess what? You still got to do it for yourself.
Right.
It ain't right, but it's what it is. You know what I'm saying?
I tell guys that too, man. Like, we're all in the race.
Yeah.
Some of us have advantages.
Yep. 100%.
Right? But you still got to run this race.
Yeah, it's still your race. You still got to run your race.
Still got to run it, man. Like, maybe you didn't come from a good family. Maybe you didn't have the best upbringing. Maybe you had some things that came against you, but you still got to run this race.
Yeah. Yeah, it may not be right, but it is reality, and, it may not be right, but it's your responsibility, and this is this is your go at lordship over your life. Like, you're the common denominator in every situation in your life. Everybody's self-made, but only the successful want to admit it. You know what I'm saying? Like proper planning meets opportunity. Some call it good luck. I call it providence, man. And then the harder you work, the luckier you get. And, I run into a lot of flack from the black, African American community, from all the rest of black folks. You know what I'm saying? Like, I drop a ridiculous amount of content, like 1 to 2 organic videos a day. Like, I'm hammering on these fools, even though they're shadow banning me. I'm still hammering, taking market share. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Until I collapse, like, until they get me. You know what I'm saying? But, my most popular piece of content, like image I've ever dropped, was that, you guys have all seen it by now because it's been mad viral, but it's like a picture of 3 black guys, bailiff, gangster, and a lawyer. And I just wrote a quick caption like, choice over everything. Your life will reciprocate back to you the quality of your decisions. And bruh, the internet exploded. Like, it broke the internet. I had black people in there being like, you Uncle Tom, you whitewashed. When they say, you're a victim of racism that doesn't even know you're a victim of racism. Like, I got my black card taken 100 times that day. And
it's funny when the white people tell you how you should feel.
Yeah.
I always trip out of that.
Like, I had to remind them, like, I've been black this entire time, you guys. And it just blew me away, man, because it was just more that, like, zombie programming of like, oh, you're you're a victim and there's nothing you can do. Like, bro, you got to take control. And that's been half my ethos is like, yo, I just want to show you guys what one imperfect man can do by the grace of God if he gets after it every single day. Cause I'm really not that tight. Like I got some cool tattoos and stuff, but like I work hard, bro. And, I want to show like other kids from wherever they from, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you can freak. Right now is the easiest time that's ever existed to make money in this world with the digital game, bro. Like you grow up in a digital age, you know how to use AI, you know how to use social media. Player, you literally have a superpower. Like you could sell anything, bro. Like you could come up with like, I mean, just anything you want to sell. There's a demographic online that will buy it if you can get the marketing equation correct. Like if you can just get the AI to get the marketing equation correct and you can push the buttons and put it and post it, you're done. You don't even have to get it right anymore. Yeah. So it's like, bro, like the only reason you're not winning is because you're not resourceful, you're not resilient, and ultimately you don't believe in yourself, and you'll continue not believing yourself until you take action to show you that you're worth believing in. By the grace of God.
Why did you become a Marine?
Why did I become a Marine?
Yeah, what was it?
Yeah, man. So I
switching gears here.
Yeah, let's go. No, there was a war going on, and I was like, yo, I'm an able-bodied man. Like, what
you wanted to go to the military during a war.
Yeah, and I looked around, and I was like, yo, like, how am I going to not fight? Like, what am I going to do, hide amongst these people? Like, I'm a warrior. Like, this is, like, why I was created. And so I just was like, yo, this is what I have to do. This is who I am. And then also I was like, yo, my dad's, like, super ultra-masculine. Like, if I found the cure for cancer, he'd be like, son, why didn't you get the cure for AIDS? Go back in your room and figure it out. You know what I mean? So I was like, how am I ever going to measure up? Like, what's the one thing I could do? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to war and I'm going to get something at war that no one can take from me. And my masculinity will be established. And so that was also part of it. It's like, I want to know for a fact I'm a man in a way that like no one can take from me. And so I'm 18. I'm going to go fight grown men to death to the death. And so, you know, it was those two things. It was service and it was proving.
Were you afraid?
Yeah, man. I remember the first time, like, oh yeah, multiple times, like boot camp, like you feel the little fear inside you tingling, mingling around when you're like, they're like, you know, it was very exciting in a lot of ways. 'Cause I was just like, wow, a whole new world. And like, I'm going to find out what I'm made of. And like, these dudes wreck fools. And like, people told me I couldn't do this. And like, I'm here. And like, so there's all that happening. And I was like, but I'm going to prove them. I'm going to show them who I am. And I'm going to find out who I am. You know, I live for that. But then there was like certain moments when I was just like they're going to make you do stuff, you know, that you weren't used to, you know, and that was a little intimidating. I always felt a little intimidating at different events, but there was a moment when I legitimately was like, oh my, like when like Godzilla came out of the water and you're like, what have I done? Like, father, like what is going to happen next? And I remember it was my first night in combat, dude. Like, you know, we're on the Haditha Dam painting skeletons on our faces, getting ready to go into war. And like 18, 19-year-olds. You imagine 18, 19-year-olds with guns, with rifles kicking your door. I got
real Call of Duty.
Real Call of Duty, dog. I got a rocket launcher on, like just 18, 19-year-olds right now. Kicking your door. Everyone get on the ground. Like, it's really, like, the thought as an adult thinking of what we did, it's like, oh my gosh, like those poor people, you know, running around. You know, you got this dude with a rocket launcher walking around, skeletons painted on their face, Lord of the Flies looking like psycho kids. So just got in shootouts all night long, like bodies in the streets. So I'm sitting here and I remember we're on Haditha Dam and we're getting ready to go first night invasion of Haditha. They make movies about this thing. And we get into our tracks. I was in a track company. We're rolling in to invade Haditha, and it's like 3, 4 a.m. And I remember meeting the Iraqi army dudes, and they're like, Durka, you know, Muhammad. They're not really, but they're like, Mr. You know, I'm a Habibi Marine Zien, like when Tuscan, like, you know, like Madame, into Madame, sort of like, they're like, hey, where are you from? Like, let me see a picture of your wife, basically. And I'm like, hey, chill out, bro. So I'm like, but this is like a whole new world. Like, I'm looking at these little dudes and I'm like, this is wild, man. Like, what am I doing? It's pitch black. And we're driving towards the city after we pick up our Iraqi army dudes. And I'm staring at the city, like, skyline. And then all of a sudden, like, it just goes black. And I remember being like, and you're so naive, bro. Like, what am I, 19 at this point? It's 2004. And like, I just don't know anything. And I remember being like, hey, I'm like, yo, the lights just went out for the city. That's super dope. I'm like, that's like awesome. We got night vision. Like they're screwed now. And then my senior Marine's like, tsh. he's like, recon just cut the power. We're about to invade, idiot. And I'm like, oh yeah. So we're and I'm like, okay, cool. So we're rolling on these tracks, and then all of a sudden we stop because we're at the edge of a minefield, and the army wanted to beat us into the city. They go flying by on a Bradley, and my officers are like on the mic, and they're like, yo, stop that Bradley. They just went into a minefield, and they're like trying to stop them, yelling at them, hey. And they're just going, and kaboom. And I remember seeing my first mushroom cloud, and I'm like sitting here in the back of this thing, at this back of this track, or high back, and I'm staring at this mushroom cloud, and then you start hearing like rounds cook off and people screaming and like and rounds are cooking off and dudes are getting burnt alive. And I remember being like, this doesn't even look real. And then I hear my Heavenly Father's like, you don't know what real is yet. And then I like just pause, and it was like that moment probably like you've probably experienced on a roller coaster where you're like, why am you're going up, it's like click, and you're like, why am I even here? Click. And it's like, well, whose idea was this? Like, why did I even want to be on this roller? Like, is there any way out of this? Like, it was click. And I'm just sitting there just like, and I'm like, the amount of reality that's now starting to like seep into me. And it's like, this is not a video game, bro. There's no respawns. Like, it's about to go down. And just then, and I'm like in my head doing this whole, like the hamster's like sprinting on the wheel. And then all of a sudden, we shoot these APOBs up into the middle of the minefield. Boom! An APOB is like 101 grenades on a string with a rocket attached to it. Lays down, blows a big freaking trench through the middle of the minefield. Tanks come around. Thunder runs. Zzz, boom! And they go running they start driving over the track that was left by the chasm from the APOBs, the 100 grenades on a string on a rocket. They just blew a big trench. And we start invading. And so now I'm like, my heart's pounding. I just watch those dudes get blown up and roasted. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know what real is yet. This doesn't even seem real. And I'm like, there's no respawns player. Like, you got to get this thing done. And now I'm like, holy, what have I even done? I'm like 19. Like, what are we doing right now? Like, okay, well, like, I better. And then that's when I'm like, I better get in the game. Like, it's game time. So we're going and we're walking in behind these tracks. It's pitch black. It's nighttime. And I remember when we got to the city, there was my first house. I was pieing off a corner, and there was a dude standing in the doorway, and all I see is a hand, and I see him grabbing something, and I see wood, and it looked like an AK. And I remember I came up to smoke this dude. At the last minute, I get a little bit more of his body, and I realize that he's an old dude grabbing his crutches, and I'm like, this is a mine job. And then right then the mosques start kicking on. Al Akbar, kill the insurgents. Like, basically they're like going, it's game time. They're like, it's time to fight and time to die. Then you have psyops start kicking off on our stuff. So we're playing like metal, Led Zeppelin, like rock, all that stuff, like 80s headbands, freaking getting after, like just hardcore death metal workout kill music. And we're dusting the whole city with green smoke. So the tanks are now doing thunder runs around the city, smoking everything out. And you're just hearing like rock. You're hearing the mosque kick off. And then psyop starts playing all these like gnarly sounds that just build anxiety. So like babies crying, women screaming, evil laughter, piano, sniper shots, like tank shots. And so it's just designed, and we train with it, so we're a little more inoculated to it. But yeah, that was my first. There was a few other times in combat, but that was the first time I was like, okay. But it also, I learned how to manage fear through training and through really being like, all right, sweet, we're going to hit this house. I might die right now, but like, I'm going to die with honor because my boy's not going in there by himself. We got to do this, you know?
Did you see guys freak out and succumb to the fear in those?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there was my senior Marines had just gotten through Fallujah, so they were savages. They were like
that's the worst of the worst, right? During that time,
the biggest urban engagement since Way City in Vietnam. We took casualties. Guys got dangled out of windows, chopped in half, like things happened. And so they were just like homicidal, government issued Marines. And so they were the best guys for me to learn how to go into combat with. I got the real training. It was like Training Day, like the movie. When I showed up, it was gnarly.
You're in the office, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was gnarly. It was like not social media friendly, but it was awesome. And so, I get there, you know, and I'm with these dudes, and yeah, I saw dudes freeze in the doorway, man. And there was like two instances, you know, and that stood out to me on that, but the bottom line was like, dude would freeze in the doorway and get scared, and we would just beat the heck out of him, because in a pack of wolves or men that are at war, there's no room. Like, dude's like, dude, I just cracked some of my guys, and we're like, get in the house. Like, you're going to die on the streets because you're allowing fear to get you. And so it was just this beautiful, super masculine environment. And that's what the one thing I went to the Marine Corps for, and the one thing I loved about the Marine Corps. Like, do we have a problem? Awesome. Let's go to the back of the squad bay. Somebody is failing, like not training. Sweet. Like, let's just tighten him up real quick. You know what I'm saying? Oh, this guy's weak. We're going to make him strong real quick. You know what I'm saying? like, and it was just, you could just be men, and it was, you would just wreck problems. And then like when chaos showed up, you guys were like, we were like one organism. Like, everyone's just bleeding into the war, finding work, and like eating the problem alive. And that just came from training, bleeding, sweating, fighting together all the time. And so, yeah, the worst instance of that was we were taking sniper fire, and we were in the middle of a field, and I was the squad leader, and my whole squad just, we got out of the vehicle, a round cracked on the vehicle. We went to assault a house, and we continued taking sniper fire, and we got into a ditch, a trench, and at the edge of a front yard, and everyone froze. And I was like, bro, and I just remember yelling, like, get up, take the house. We have to take this house, or we're going to start dying out here. Like, we have to take this house. We're going to die out here. And that's been kind of my edge, is that I've always been super conscious. Like, I've always been like so aware of what's going to happen. If something's about to happen, I'm already out of the way, you know, and that's like a protector gift, I think, from God. And I just knew, I was like, we have to get off this street. We're going to die here. And I remember looking over, and all my dudes were just staring at me like we're just like do something. And I'm like, I'm the squad leader. I'm the brains of this squad of 3 Marine fire teams. If I die, you guys are just as, you guys are like, look at you right now. And I remember being like, I can't be the first one to go hit this house by myself. It's suicide. I need you guys. And no one was moving. And nor was I supposed to be the first one to hit the house. And I just remember being like, okay, well, I'm not going to die out here. And if I do it, maybe they'll just follow me. Like, if I suicide myself, you know, if I face the fear at the highest level, maybe it'll give them the courage they need to get in action. And so I did. I got up and I ran to that house. I was like, I am not dying out here. And I freaking hit that house, and I'll never forget it, bro. I opened both those doors, and it was a hallway with 3 doors and 3 rooms on either side. And by the grace of God, no one was in the house. If it was a combat, if it was a fight, I'd have been smoked for sure. Like, it's not like, I'm not here because I'm so cool. God just made it so I didn't die in that house, because they would have had every tactical advantage, and I just would have opened the door and got killed. But then everyone got up and they came in the house, which is the story of my life, man. When you're a leader, you start to realize these weaknesses in humans, and you start to really accept the fact of what it really is to lead, and what it really costs and can cost at times.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Street Gospel Podcast. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Elevate Ministries. Elevate Ministries is an authentic, passionate, and innovative church in the heart of Orange County, California. They strive to make their services welcoming and encouraging by intentionally engaging you in all senses to stimulate a spiritual hunger. If you're looking for a great church that's on a mission to change the world one person at a time, I encourage you to check them out at www.elevateministries.com and on Instagram at Elevate Ministries. No choice at that, right? You're gonna either die in the street, or you're gonna die at least with a little bit of honor. You know, doing what you love. I mean, there's two. You really have no choice.
Yeah. Well, it's like, do you want to die like a coward, or do you want to die, facing the enemy, moving towards the enemy? And it's like, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to get shot, hunkered down in the fetal position in a freaking trench in the front yard. That's not how this ends. I'm going to take as many as I can on the way in this house. And that's the choice. And that choice sounds monstrous, but the reality is we're all facing that choice every single day. are you going to die because you ate the extra cookie? Are you going to put off your dream, your destiny one more day? Are you going to not do what you know you're supposed to do in your relationship for yourself, for your vision, for your destiny, for your goals? Or are you going to do more mental gymnastics and go watch Netflix, man? You know? Yeah. And the easy road becomes unbearably difficult the farther downrange you get with it. You know, now you got 15 pounds to lose. Now you got 30 pounds to lose. You know what I'm saying? Now you're this much older and you're trying to come up with this idea that's going to take, it's freaking heartless. It's going to take a decade for you to pull this off. It's going to take 5 years for you to pull this off. It will. So like the sooner you start, the sooner you finish, man. Like get in the fight, you know. It might not.
Yeah.
But you better plan for it too, because you know, it might could. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I planned the long fight, you know, infinite war.
Though there's rules of engagement, right? And I think a lot of people don't understand the rules of engagement. We see that a lot with Israel right now, and how Hamas is setting that up. And there are innocent people that die in war. But what is the correct way that the normal civilian, or what are they misinterpreting? You know, when they think like, oh, you just went out there and you just killed somebody. What is your thinking when you're out there? I mean, I think I know, but what is the rules of engagement for you when you're out there?
Yeah, so like there's like professional fighting forces and there's like the bad guys, basically. Make no mistake, war turns you into a beast. You know, I did like some psychological experiments with myself when I was there, and I remember being like, yo, bro, if they said you could go home right now, would you smoke this village? And I remember being like, yep, I would. I totally would. Like, I would smoke everyone here, and I would go home tomorrow, and I would be fine, and I would get home, and I would have the great Christmases with my family. And I just remember being like, and I remember being like, dude, that's savage. Are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. And I remember being like, man, that's crazy. And then I remember being like,
a lot of dudes wouldn't admit that.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah, I know. They wouldn't admit it, bro. They wouldn't. But I'm an open book, man. Like, I'm a human. Like, I just enjoy the life of life, you know, and I know who I am and my, you know, I know who I am, you know, and that's a good place to start. I mean, there's a pattern. If you want to see who I am, you just go and check out the over 2,000 videos I've dropped for the last decade and a half on my YouTube channel. You can't fake anything that long. You'll understand my heart, but also I know who I am. I'm a full-on human dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm here by God's grace, you know, and like I work really hard, you know, but I'm always one step away from ruining everything, you know, and I just have to give God the credit for keeping me, you know, and preserving me this far. And so I remember thinking that, and then I remember coming back to the States and being like, no, how could you do that? That's so horrible. Like, oh my gosh. And I remember being like, and then I went back to combat, and I was once again, sitting in a village, little kids running around, and I remember being like, what about now, dog? Would you smoke all these? And I was like, dude, I for sure, if my chain of command said, Byron, you can go home this evening if you just smoke this village and don't tell anyone, I was like, there's a really high probability we would smoke these people. And so the first answer would be like, war turns men into dogs. An interesting thing to do is Google like men, like the looks in dudes' eyes of men who've been in war and who haven't, and you can see these before and after pictures. And I remember having that 1,000-yard stare, and I remember having that energy in my body, and I remember like seeing other men who'd been to war, and I could see it, and it was very comforting at that time for me to know that they had that. And I remember getting new first sergeants, then being like, "There's no difference between a combat Marine and a normal Marine." And then like we go to war, we come back, and they're like, "There is definitely a difference between," and because it changes you, it does something. Right. It's an energy, very interesting thing that it does to you, and so, yeah, there may be rules of engagement, but it's all just as strong as humanity is when it comes to doing the right thing. So you never want to be at war. Rule number one, just freaking, you do not want to ever be at war. Like I hear some of these patriots sometimes like, boy, we would win. I'm like, dog, bruh, you don't ever want to experience that. The other thing is like, yeah, there's ROEs, man. Like you can't just smoke people. Like there has to be hostile intent, hostile action. You have to see that this is that death or that they're a combatant that's taking action to try to take your life, or that they're doing something that's going to give them a tactical advantage when it comes to taking your life. Right. So like we had a situation where I had just been blown up by 60 some pounds of homemade explosives. I had an out of body experience, prayed to God for a chance to come back. got blown up with all my homies. I'm pissed. I'm protector triggered because this dude blew my boys up too, but the blast hit me directly. It detonated directly underneath me. Only here by the grace of God. I think I said that.
Didn't lose anything?
Nah, bro. I fractured my elbow and I got I think it's like a class 5 concussion. I was out for a while, like talking to sweet Jesus, man. I'm praying for a chance to come back. And it's a gnarly story. But at the end of the very, 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 very end of the story, I'm sitting there staring at these dudes. We're in a city and there's no one there because we've dropped leaflets and we've been having shootouts and there's no one there. But there's these 6 guys right here. You know what I'm saying? There's these 6 guys and we're sitting here. We just got blown up. They're the only dudes there. They're all wearing jeans and like fight you outfits, which like in over there, if like they're just doing normal stuff, they're wearing their man dresses, man. They're chilling. They're like doing their man dress thing. But if they're like finna fight you, they got tennis shoes on and they got pants on and tracksuits and jeans and stuff. And so these guys are all in their like Muj attire, right? Like Mujahideen attire. And they just blew us up, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm staring at these dudes, man. I pull them all out. I have them online. And I just remember like it was one of those moments in time where the Heavenly Father was guiding me because like, technically, it's for sure that these are the guys that just blew me up. And I'm staring at them, and I go, who speaks English? And this dude's like, I don't speak English. And he says it with a grin, and he says it like just as good at English as me. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, I don't speak English. Like, I'm just like this, mother, and I'm just sitting there trying to be cool about it. And a couple of my senior Marines look at me, and they're like, bro, like, we got drop weapons, like we got drop what? Like we got AKs that are just right over there. You know what I mean? Like you could just like you remember Dave Chappelle skit? Sprinkle some AK, some crack on it. like we could just deal with this, you know? They blew us up, we smoked them, we put the AKs here, it's good. Like they didn't say that, but like we knew what we were, you know what I mean? And my boy looks at me, he's like, drop weapons, and I'm like, and I saw, you know, my father's always been really like gracious to show me paths. Like I can see where things are going to go very often. And I just remember thinking to myself, and I told these guys, I was like, get on your knees. And that's when they get uncomfortable because that's when we're finna execute. That's when the old regime would execute people with pistols on their knees. And so I'm like, get on your knees. And so they all get on their knees and I'm sitting there. And I remember being like, you know, one of my seniors is like, we could smoke these dudes. And then I could see the future, and I could see my little Gendies, man, my little younger Marines that were with me, and I could just see them like sitting in lazy boys, like overweight, like not being able to deal with the straight savagery of just executing fools. And I just remember being like, oh, we're gonna have to get them later, you know. And we just took them in, which means they got released with $200 like later on, you know. You see, which, you know, there's more of a story to that, but the point is, because of the rules of engagement, it would not have been a righteous kill. We were well within our rights to do so by like the laws of like masculinity. You know, you tried to kill me, I know you tried to kill me, I can kill you now. But the rules of engagement, I have to have hostile act, I have to have hostile intent. And I need to be able to articulate that before I do any of those things.
And how do you coincide that those thinking, those thoughts with being a believer? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Is it? A lot of people don't understand. How could you be a believer and go to war and actually kill somebody? You know, even though we could read the Bible and there's many warriors in the Bible, right?
yeah. No, I'm glad you asked this.
Read the Old Testament. I mean, every other week there's a new war.
100%, and we're like scorched earthing different tribes.
The whole family.
Yeah, bro. The livestock,
everything.
You know. Yeah, man. So for me, you know, I've had the luxury of knowing when God's with me, you know, and I really felt like it was what he wanted me to do, and I felt covered and I felt supported. Mine hasn't been Christianity of religion. It's been a Christianity of relationship. Peace has been my umpire. The Holy Spirit's been my guide. And so I had peace about a lot of these things before I really understood them technically and theologically. But for me, thou shalt not kill is thou shalt not murder. When you really dig into the translation, it's don't murder people. You know, there's a time for everything under the sun in Ecclesiastes. One of those things is war. I look at combat as one of the highest levels of service that exists. Even today, if I have to get into a life-threatening altercation in 7-Eleven for whoever innocent is in there, this is my service and my duty to stand between the innocent and evil. And on this planet, God said, let man have dominion. And that means that this is our experience of dominion over this planet. And what you don't see generally, angels kicking in windows, saving these kids from human trafficking. You know, like there are, like right now, people are getting raped and murdered, and there are some unspeakable evils happening, especially in some other here. And they're going to pretty much happen until good, competent, strong people willing to do violence actually stop them. And that was a realization that I got from war, and that there's a war going on right now between the energies of faith and fear and light and dark to possess humans and cause humans to execute on their will. And part of executing on the will of our Father is being competent in war and combat, because that's what's going to stop. Unfortunately, if you call 911 right now, the only reason that women and children are not just actively being murdered and raped in that order all over the streets right now is because there are men that are willing to do violence on the behalf of good people, and they are still on 911 speed dial right now, and it holds the society. The threat of righteous violence is literally what holds society in any type of homeostasis. And so being part of that, being part of the righteous part of that equation was always my goal. Not that our American endeavors have always been righteous. I'm not saying that, but that's always been my heart. And so now it's really beautiful to be able to do that here in the brands that I'm doing, to create righteous protectors and help good people be competent, willing, capable, prepared to be able to do these things, because the world needs it more now than ever. And so for me, going to war and becoming a valid a warrior was the experience and training I needed to be able to do the good that I was created to do on the highest levels, and in ways that people who don't have that experience are not capable of doing. You know, as Father who it was my Heavenly Father who prepares my fingers for war and for battle, you know?
Yeah. That's so good, man. What when you talk about getting blown up, and pretty much dying, what is that like, man?
Yeah.
And how does that change? I think I know how it's changed you, because you've said it, but how does that really change you, man, and your perspective on a lot of things?
It definitely caused me to realize how thin the veil is between life and death. Like, this is like, people put their like trust in this thing. Like, this is a thin veil. Like, you're just one acid trip away from crossing over at any moment. Like, you get in a car accident on the way. Over 100,000 people will die today. Every single day cross over. And so, and the finite, like the reality, like what was really, you know, if we still have time, I'll tell the story. What was really the most heart piercing about the dang thing was the realization that it was so finally, it was so over. Like, can you imagine?
At what age?
All your reality being over? Like, can you, like, it's this biggest bomb that goes off in your psychology. I was 19, and you're sitting there and you're like, it's over, like it's over, like it's over, like you're not here anymore. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, like, all right, so we're rolling down the street and we're like, you know, I remember my corpsman's like, yo, Rodgers. I was like aggressive that day. I forget what happened, but like, I was just on one, and I remember my corpsman being like, yo, Rodgers, sit back. You're like, something happens, you're gonna get blown up, and you're gonna like get launched, because I was like leaning out the side of the vehicle, and anyways, so I'll skip that part. But I'm sitting here and
being a 19-year-old kid,
being a 19-year-old savage, American sanctioned Lord of the Flies warrior, and so I'm Uncle Sam's misguided children. So I'm sitting here and I'm driving, and I'm in the back, and I put myself in the safest place in the vehicle, because I'm the troop commander. So, like, if we take contact or damage, I need to survive, so I can tell my 3 squads and my 3 fire teams like what to do, you know. So we're rolling down the street, man, and I hear my boy Foster come over the radio, and Foster has been in like 10 IEDs. Like Foster's been blown up like 10 times. So like me being like, I've been blown up 5 times is like amazing, you know, like it's a lot in like civilian world, you know, but like in the Marine Corps world, it's like, oh, okay, like this cat's been around the block, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like he's all right, you know what I mean? Like it's all right, you know, like cats in my platoon, like Foster took like 8 to 10, bro. I watched Foster get blown up right in front of me. I watched Foster get launched out of a vehicle during a blast so high that I had time to run, get down a ladder off the back of my vehicle, run 20 feet probably towards his vehicle that had gotten blown up, and then he landed. Oh. You know what I'm saying? And then the engine block landed. Like, it was like, so, you know, God bless Foster. Foster's got a sixth sense for IEDs at this point. Like, he just knows when something's about to happen. And that's real. That's a thing. And he's like, yo, Silverback. Like, he comes over the radio, Silverback, I got a weird feeling. I'm like, yo, it's the Marine Corps. No one gets offended about anything. Yeah, we're past that. We're far past that. So I'm like, yo, he's like, I got a weird feeling. I'm like, Roger that, man. Just do whatever you got to do, man. He's like, I'm going to stop real quick and take a look around. I'm like, Roger that. So Foster's rolling to a stop. And then all of a sudden, I'm just in a black room. Like, if I think really hard, I can kind of think I can remember the shockwave going through my body. But, like, my buddy Hebert sitting across from me, and this is, you know, my buddy Hebert sitting across from me is the last thing he saw was me on the roof folded in half, like, with a surprised look, like, and with my feet up by my ears, just like, in half on the roof of the 7-ton. We're in a 7-ton. It's like an up armored, like semi truck kind of. And yeah, man, like all of a sudden I'm just in a black room and I'm perfectly fine. Like I'm perfectly fine. I'm so fine that like I'm at peace, and that's what caught my attention. Like if you think of that John Travolta meme where he's just like sitting there kind of like hanging out, like I'm just chilling. And I just remember being like, wow. And I was like, what? Like why am I so good? Like, and I remember I was like, where was I? Like, what was I doing? And where am I? And then all of a sudden I remember knowing that I could call my thoughts up. And I remember being like, what was my last thought? But I was in total peace. And I remember I saw this green blinker, like MS-DOS computers, like the Matrix movie, literally was like, and my last thought on planet Earth was like, why is the water cooler like, why is the water cooler trying to come up my butt? Like, because I was sitting on a water cooler and I felt this pressure. The water cooler absorbed so much of the freaking blast that the blast was coming up through the ground, through the water cooler into me. And I remember being like, why is the water cooler trying to, and I was like reading that. And then I remember being like, oh, I was on deployment in Iraq. And I remember being like, I was on patrol. And then I remember being like, oh my gosh, I'm dead. Oh. And then that's when I felt the deepest explosion of sorrow, deeper than anything I had ever experienced, just explode from the inside of me, like someone hit me right in the solar plexus. And I just remember I was just like so sorry. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, I died. And I remember being like, I died and it's over. It's over. Like, I can't believe this. And I remember just starting to apologize. I was just like, Mom, Dad, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't believe I died in Iraq. And I just remember, I was just saying I was so sorry because I just realized, and I was going through this like this super, super painful experience of like, I have never really lived. Like, what was that? Like, what was I even doing? And like it's over, and I was never even like conscious. I was just like kind of funny, kind of jacked. I'm like a Marine. Like who cares about anything I ever thought my entire life? And I was so upset about that, and so upset about how final it was and how over it was. And like I'm a pile of guts on the floor in Iraq for what? Like I started going through all that, and then I finally. I started seeing my family members, and I started seeing like my mom, and I was like, Mom, I'm so sorry I died in Iraq. And I'm like, Dad, I'm so sorry. Like I died. And when I got to my dad, it was super hard because my dad, when I told him I was going to join the Marine Corps, he got pissed and he dangled me off the balcony of the hotel outside of my high school graduation.
Suge Knight you.
Yeah, bro. And I remember him being like, he's like dangling me off the balcony, and I remember just relaxing and being like, all right. And he's like, why aren't you afraid? And I was like, he's either you're going to drop me off the balcony or I'm going to go join the Marine Corps. And he's just like, So he lets me up and he's like, I'll support your decision. He's like, but don't die. And I remember being like, Dad, I'll do my best. Pray for me. And I went and I joined the Marine Corps. Like, for me to think about what that was probably like for him, I'm sorry, Dad. I love you. I'm sorry. So, like, oh my gosh, right? So I get to my dad and I'm like, Dad, I'm so sorry I died. And I see my girlfriend at the time, my sisters. I'm visiting my whole family. And then I finally get to my grandma. And, you know, like, and my grandma's a Christian Cherokee woman. Looks like she should be in a movie. And she used to tell me when I was little, I had another near-death experience when I was little. I got stung by over 300 bees when I was little, and it was a whole thing. But I survived because they all stung me in the head, and so all the poison didn't get into my little body, and like it was enough for me to make it by the grace of God. So I'm sitting here, and my grandma comes to me. I'm seeing my grandma, and I remember her voice coming to me and being like, Byron? It's super touched by an angel-y. Like, I would have made this story way more like B.A. if I wrote it, but like I didn't. So like this, she's sitting there and she's like, Byron, if anything's ever stronger than you, you say Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. By the third time, it'll go away. And I used to have night terrors after getting the bee thing and stuff like that. And like I would wake up and feel like I was being strangled. And like if I could just get the words Jesus out, it would go away. And I just remember being like, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And then I started to come to, and I remember saying a prayer to God, and I was like, Father, I'm so sorry. And I was like, I may never be what you called me to be. Like, if you send me back, I may never achieve like everything you want me to achieve. I was like, but I promise you, I will go. And I said it just like this. I was like, I will go so hard in the paint. I was like, I'll go so hard in the paint. I was like, I may never be everything. I don't know if I can do that, but I will go as hard as I can. And I just kept saying, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And then next thing you know, like I was back in my body and I couldn't move my body. And I was like, Father, I can't do this without my body. And then I kept praying. And then all of a sudden, I felt myself like one of those Abrams tanks. Like I just felt like I felt like I just powered up. And then I saw my dad while I was in there too. And my dad said, he was like, you know, when I asked him like how he didn't die when he got shot at point blank range with a shotgun. And he said, son, people die when they give up. He's like, I wasn't going to give up. They declared him dead like multiple times. This guy is just like, this is just how this guy is. And he's like, I wasn't giving up. I got you to live for. I got da-da-da-da-da. And I remember that came to me and I was like, people die when they give up. And I just felt this righteous anger come over me. And I was like, I will not die here. And I got up out of that hole. And I remember seeing the back of the 7-ton door was like jammed shut on us. And I kicked it until it like, boom, I kicked it out until it opened up. And then I looked down, it's like a 6.5, 7 foot drop from the top to the bottom. Like jumping out of this thing, full kit. I weighed about 300 pounds of full kit, got rockets and stuff strapped to me. And I just remember looking down and then I black out. And I wake up again and I'm in a field about 35 yards away from the vehicle. And apparently, according to what the boy said, I like jumped out like crackhead style, like crackhead strength, like jumped 15 feet out the back of the thing, sprinted off into a field. And I wake up and I'm like on a knee setting security for myself. And I look back at the vehicle and the boys are still in the vehicle. And I'm like, get out of the vehicle. And then we start clearing the village and clearing houses. And that's when we find those 6 guys that we didn't kill by the grace of God. Yeah, man.
I don't know how you control yourself after somebody does that to you. It was the grace of God.
Man. Yeah. I mean, I contemplated it for a while, but ultimately, you know, I know I made the right decision. In that moment, I had the luxury of really like the Holy Spirit was like, no, like this is what will happen to your men. This one decision will define the reality and they will like, it will eat their souls. You know, like, and that was it. And honestly, the real conversation was, I'll be fine. I was literally like, in my head, I was like, I'd be fine. I smoke these dudes and go eat a peanut butter jelly sandwich right now. Like, I got to get my boys back for chow. But then I looked at the rest of them and like how they're made psychologically. And I was like, these cats are not going to be okay if we just do these guys. And so I decided not to. And it started to haunt me for a few seconds. And then I was just like, no, we made the right choice. Like, these dudes, like, it was one, the right choice, most importantly, and 2, that would have had a different type of carnage, you know, within my crew.
Yeah. I think, that's That's a tough one, man.
Yeah, man.
That's a tough one.
And and honestly, I think one of the reasons, like when I had my psyche valves and stuff like that, getting out and stuff, I think the two reasons I'm so well adjusted is because one, I have that spiritual development aspect. Two, healthy level, trauma that was dealt with very well in my childhood, a healthy level of trauma and understanding resilience at a young age. My dad taught me a lot of that stuff like that. And then three, that spiritual development. And then four, like that spiritual development, huge, monstrous. I have a place to take these things, and I have a backbone that's stronger than me to lean on, supernaturally stronger than me to lean on. And then three, or four, wherever we're at in the thing, I think that also, the last one's going to have to come back to me. But, I didn't do anything that I was strongly morally opposed to. There were certain things that we did, when it came to getting information and stuff like that, they were a little bit difficult, because it's just a lot more humanity involved in that process. But we didn't do anything to where I was like, man, God kept me. And a lot of us did, a lot of us had to do things, but I feel like every time I pulled the trigger, it was righteous.
Wow. What do you think so many guys don't adjust well when they come back? A lot of guys suffer from PTSD. I asked a combat medic that I know, Josiah O'Neill, what is the difference? We didn't see a lot of that, in other war, World War II guys. And now it's a lot of guys suffer from PTSD, and it has all these effects on their whole family. Mm-hmm. His thing was that because they came back to it was different then. Mm. They came back to a lot of support. They came back to as patriots. They came back as heroes, and there was the moral compass, or there was God. There was faith. More was prevalent in our country than now. It's you come back. Some people look at you as a hero. Some people look at you as a murderer. Right. Some people never had faith in their life. Do you think that? What do you think plays a role in that? So I did. All right, so because you seem well adjusted, man. Thank you. For going through all that. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So I did. I did a lot of work on this because I had friends struggling. I had. It was maybe within the first year of getting back, I lost more friends to suicide than I lost in combat. And so that's why I went and got the master's in psychology. That's why I went and studied at Tony Robbins University and wrote the book, Finding Meaning After the Military, and went to multiple, really went down the psychology rabbit hole. And that's why I did life coaching for veterans for a while as well. And I think that huge factors are things like the resilience in society is not what it used to be. Those cats that went to those wars and came back, they were more psychologically prepared. They grew up hard, working out hard, masculine culture. Those dudes would beat us up right now. You know what I mean? Those guys were a much hardier crew of dudes. The value structure was way more masculine and honorable, and so that does a lot. We're psychologically deliberately softened in this society. There's so much that is acting on making the human weaker and easier to control right now. And so these humans are going to war with less inner psychic tools. They don't have the same software that men have been chopping each other into pieces at bad breath range since the beginning of Cain and Abel, bro. Pimp has been pimping. This is part of the human experience, Right. So it's not that the act, I think, is necessarily and it is damaging and it is hard, but the human psyche has been dealing with doing this since we were built. I think that our values and the level of resilience is down. I've also found in a very common, in a high enough volume to mention, that a lot of the guys that have a really tough time have undealt with trauma. So they may have had a sexual abuse or trauma in their childhood that wasn't dealt with properly. And the PTSD exasperates that.
And then once you get to that, then the PTSD just like chills out. And the PTSD is like a socially acceptable presentation of symptoms that people are like, oh, well, he's got PTSD, like poor Johnny, you know what I'm saying? And you get sympathy for it, and it starts feeding it, and then it becomes an identity. And once it becomes an identity, and it's like, oh, well, I'm Johnny, and I got PTSD, and I'm special because I got PTSD, then that's a problem, you know what I'm saying? And you start getting emotional nourishment for that, that's a problem. So don't feed the fear, guys. So that's a huge issue. Undealt with trauma, not learning the skills to deal with these things and having the software to deal with these things because the way we're raised and the way society is. And then the third huge one, I think, is society like making it socially acceptable and okay in ways where, like, when I was getting out, they were like, how many missions have you been on? How many patrols have you been on? How many times have you been blown up? They're like, you got PTSD? I'm like, no, I don't. And they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. And they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes, I'm sure. I'm fine. Like, are you sure? Like that meme, dude. And I'm like, guys, like, they're like, you know, you get paid if you got PTSD. I'm like, yeah, just no. Like, ooh. I don't have PTSD. I'm fine. And they're like literally were trying to get me to say they just wanted me to have it. And I was like, no, I don't have it, bro. I'm fine. I'm going to go be an entrepreneur. And I'm going to crush it. And everything that happened to me in war is going to make me more dangerous, more resilient, way stronger. I can suffer well now. Like, I can go days without food now. Like, you know, I don't need sleep. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the difference, you know, and those are the differences I've seen, man. And then on top of all of that, like one of the worst things I talk about in my book, Finding Meaning After the Military, is the atrophy of identity. And like, there's something about being in combat, at least for me, and at least for a lot of the veterans I talk to when I do like motivational speaking, and I used to speak on this, there's this thing where you spend time creating the most efficient engine you possibly can. You're 21 and perfect, and you're a machine, and you have a sense of vision, and you have a wolf pack to go and execute with, and you have purpose, and you have life and death in your hands. It's an extremely validating, significant experience. When you look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like food, water, shelter, emotional needs, social needs, all these things, self-actualization, like you're pretty kind of close by the time you get done with your military service. Like you kind of got all the needs, you know what I'm saying? And then you get out, and that's like, ooh, bam, like, hey, you can go work at like the shoe store player. You know what I mean? Like what am I going to do? And that was one of the other times I heard God's voice. I was so scared. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. All I can do is hold the gun for somebody. And I was given a purpose. So I talk about the atrophy of identity. When you feel like a Lamborghini in a school zone, and it's like nerf everything from now on. And like, you have to be nice to people who like believe their own excuses and stuff. And so life is just this soul sucking soup of weak patheticness. And it's horrible.
When you're at this level, and all of a sudden you have to come down this level. It's like, what happened?
Yeah, man. And it's this fall from grace. And so, you know, you give into it. You want to change your state. You want to feel good again. You're chasing your dopamine. My PTSD was highly dopamine driven. I felt alive in war, and I felt alive going 150, 60, 70 miles an hour psychologically and fighting for my life. It felt like it was what I was created to do. And so coming back to the civilian life was like, I felt like a Lamborghini in a school zone. So I just did drugs all the time. Like so I was extremely highly functioning, extremely able to like do drugs and still protect people and still be awesome. And like, no one ever said anything or was any the wiser. And I just was like highly functioning. But I was addicted to my dopamine, you know, and I needed to feel that intensity. Otherwise life sucked. And so it wasn't until I started to really realize that this is my version of PTSD happening, actually, that I was able to be like, stop, cut it out. And I'm, you know, crazy enough to like be willing to die over something. So I was like, you're going to change your behavior right now or you're going to die. And that's just what we're going to do right now, Byron. And that's, you know, that's what changed it. But that's why. Those are my reasons that I've seen why. And the answer is find your new fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for a man.
Oh, come on.
I mean, you have to find something to fight for.
Yeah. Find something to spend yourself on. You got to find something that is attractive enough to make you a better man in the pursuit of, and that's going to serve. Listen, like I hear these dudes like happy wife, happy life and all this stuff. And I'm like, don't make her the focus, you know, like the vision that God's given you in your heart and the pursuit of being the best version of you is the all encompassing way for you to serve everyone. And it is your duty. And it is like, Jesus is like, I need to be about my Father's business, you know, like, And when you start to live life that way and you find a mission that is worth spending yourself on and pouring yourself into, and you bring a queen into a kingdom that's got a vision and a purpose and all these beautiful things, you can serve her on a higher level. You serve yourself, and because the warrior is constantly he's constantly disciplining himself, chastising himself, strengthening himself, cutting away the fat in service of being an efficient warrior in service of his tribe. And when you find whether it's that business that you want to achieve or that nonprofit you want to set up, or, it's that thing that brings you to life and you can monetize that somehow, which is the easiest time in the history of the universe to do that. And you can find that thing, bro, you'll find that you come to life. And then all the software, that Lamborghini engine you created in the Marine Corps, now you can apply all that to business. And it is a war. Business is a war. And when you're waking up at 4 a.m., now it's not for Uncle Sam. It's for your destiny. It's to bring your God glory. It's for your legend. It's for your family. It's for your lineage. It's for the real stuff it was always supposed to be for. And these are things worth fighting and dying for, and that is what brings me to life. And that's what I talk to veterans about that brings them to life. It's bro, you're still that warrior. You just gotta find something to pour yourself into that you're willing to die over. It ain't worth it unless you're willing to die over it. This is how we get down. We was always going to die. This was always the plan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right?
Come on.
I think the faster we realize that, the better.
Yeah, 100%, man. Our example died. All the disciples were martyred. Right. What are we here? Live for something, man. Let's go.
So good, man.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate you coming out, man.
It's an honor. It's an honor.
So much good stuff. I mean, we do one more thing though.
Let's go.
We call this the Furious Five, man.
Okay.
We ask you.
What you got?
5 furious questions here.
Yo, I like the turntable, bro. I love it, man. I ain't been on a podcast with this yet.
Question number 1 for Byron Rodgers. When you're at the gym,
yes, sir.
What are you listening to?
Wow, that's a good one. So when I'm at the gym, I have a mix that I've put together called Moto Vids. You can find it on my YouTube channel. It's nothing but motivational speakers over violent soundtracks. That is just, I'm focusing on physical, mental, and emotional development simultaneously. So the physiology's triggered, which actually puts the lessons deeper in your psychology and in your subconscious because you're in a special state. You're in alpha wave state. Or I listen to binaural beats to unlock different mind states when I'm in the gym. Or the last thing I'll listen to is my other soundtrack called Epic, and there's no words because I don't want to be polluted by other people's ideas, and I just sit there and I talk to God and I think deeply on equations in my life and try to solve them.
Man, going deep with that one. I'm gonna have to check out that one.
It's a discipline,
I'm gonna have to check out that one.
Yeah, bro, I'll send you the link. Okay. There's 600 vids on there now.
Let's check it out. Question number 2.
What you got?
What does your diet look like, man?
Yeah, man. No,
because you seem disciplined, so I gotta ask.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. So I got fat kid genes, so I can't mess around too much. Yeah. I eat carnivore. I love eating carnivore, bro. I feel like a savage, but I mix it with intermittent fasting. So I'm big on fasting for the physical, mental, emotional development. Once again, if I can control my primal voices in my body, I can control my being. And so I've gone 40 days on just liquids, master cleanse. You can look it up. I've gone 40 days on the master cleanse, just drinking basically water and hippie stuff. And but on a weekly basis, I try to go from Sunday to Tuesday without eating. And sometimes I'll do a 3-day fast. And at the beginning of the year, I do at least 13 to 15 days on just liquids, and I work out every single day. Yeah, so it's carnivore or one ingredient foods. If God didn't make it, it's probably killing you.
Right.
And intermittent fasting.
Man, I think the carnivore. So what are you eating when you're doing carnivore?
Primarily red meat. Red meat's the most nutrient dense food on the planet. So I'm murdering red meat steaks. I got chickens, dog. The most anabolically perfect food God has ever made is eggs, bro. So eggs. Copious amounts of eggs. We getting 20 eggs a day, 15, 20 eggs a day.
20 eggs a day.
So yeah, man, I got chickens and I'm hunting red meat and I just got my blood work done, and I'm looking awesome. And I feel like a monster, bro. Like when I murder like 2 ribeyes, like I literally feel like I took souls. You know, the carbs make me feel bloated. I'm, you know, a little insulin sensitive and all that, but it fixes you anabolically. So much of us have taken so much anabolic damage in this society where there's literally a biological war on you with forever chemicals in everything,
Right.
and BPAs and endocrine disruptors. So know where your meat comes from and eat meat.
Dang.
You never met a vegetarian that's like, hey, what up, dog? I'm a vegetarian. You know, like, yeah, dog, I'm vegan. Yeah, like, it doesn't happen. You know what I mean? It's always the guys who are like, I'm paleo, I'm keto, I'm carnivore, I'm set. And you're like, okay, bro.
Yeah.
Dude.
Question number 3 on the Street Gospel Furious 5. Would you rather be feared or loved?
Respected.
Respected, right?
Respected all day, man. Respected all day. Yeah. That's masculine version of love, I guess.
It is.
But it's kind of both.
It is the masculine version of
Yeah.
love. Me and my wife talk about this.
Yeah.
She rather me tell her I love you.
Yeah.
And inside, I'd rather her tell me I respect you.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
We take respect as a woman takes love.
Oh, for sure. I'd much rather be respected and loved every single day of the year. Me and my wife talk about it too. We did the love language study, and they're like, "Oh, you're this." I'm like, "I'm one language, respect with a K." You know what I'm
That's
saying?
it.
Like, just
That's
give me
all we
your-
need.
That's
respect
it, baby.
and some good ribeye.
Yeah, bro. And we're winning, man. And I work hard to be respectable. Like when you open your eyes and you look at me, like, and if I open my mouth and all these things, like, I want to be at a level where it's like, it's done. Like, no, that dude's respectable. Like, you know, I don't like his content, but like, you got to respect his gangster. Like, you just, like,
Right.
that's what I'm trying to do at all times.
Right. Question number 4 on the Street Gospel Furious 5. The regular guy, that's the average guy, you know, you do a lot of training. I see you training. A lot of guys can't afford training. A lot of guys can't afford to go to a gym, learn jiu-jitsu, right? It's too expensive.
Okay.
What is your advice for those type of guys that everybody should be training something? You should be figuring something out. You should be working. You know, you get all these guys online. They're always saying, you should be training. You should be learning this. You should be doing this. And I always laugh because I'm like, half the people you're talking to don't have the financial ability to do it.
Yeah, to have a membership or something.
Yeah, but what can they do? And what would you suggest?
Yeah, man. Same thing we suggest in the Marine Corps. Haze yourself. You know what I'm saying? But like realistically, like if you can afford the internet and you can afford to go on YouTube, bro, I tried this for a while and honestly, like I just going ahead and look up some weightless workouts, prison workouts. Like when I was in Iraq, like I was still finna get mine. So, you know, I made a whole gym out of sandbags, bro. Sandbags, pipes, towels. Like you freaking go to Home Depot and you make a pull-up bar. You start, you get a deck of cards and you start doing card push-ups every single day. You got to finish that deck 5, 10. Like you just bang them out. Aces or 20. Like, and you start and you do that. Why do you do that? Because it's going to make you stronger mentally, emotionally, and physically. Your self-respect's going to go up. You never fight for anything you don't believe you don't deserve. So like your personal identity is crap. You're never going to fight for anything. You're never going to get anything. And so you find a way, you know what I'm saying? Push-ups are free, player, you know what I'm saying? Go walk to the park. Dips are free, man. Monkey bars, pull-ups is free, player, you know what I'm saying? So there ain't no excuse. There ain't an excuse on the dang planet. There's people with way less that have done way more, always.
Right. My buddy says the best piece of equipment is the ground.
Yeah, bro. Yeah,
He's
bro.
like, the ground.
If you can do push-ups and burpees, you can haze yourself. Set the timer, haze yourself. Yeah,
Right.
man.
Question number 5. When you look for somebody to come work for you, a protector,
Yeah.
what is the biggest or most important characteristic that you're looking for?
Yeah. So it's going to be in the realm of character. I can teach anybody tactics, but I don't want to be anywhere near you when you learn character. One of the huge things is decision making, the ability to make high quality decisions. Because the reality is you're going to be faced with so many different equations. I need you to navigate in a way that's going to bring honor to my brand and to that client's brand. The second thing I look for is good social dynamics. Like, do you present well? Do you talk well? A lot of guys struggle with this because they're insecure and they haven't been tested, right? So go to Toastmasters. Toastmasters is free. Learn how to speak. Like, it's one of the most valuable educations you'll ever get. Learning how to be articulate and the skill of oratory is one of the most valuable and powerful skills that's going to impact every single area of your life, right? Business, sales, relationships, everything. So I look for the ability to make good decisions, the ability to have social dynamics, and then I look for character, man. I really want to know what your values are. Like, I can turn you into an amazing protector professionally, but like, I want to know what's important to you and your hobbies and like how you really work on a deeper level, you know? So those are the things I'm really looking for. And then finally, have it physically, player. Like, people should look at you and be like, I want to pay this guy 6 figures to protect my family. Like, let's go.
That's probably, is that one of the biggest parts of that? Just looking scary?
Dude, unfortunately and fortunately, like, yeah, bro. Like, you just like you really should have the look. Now, some clients want like a monster, you know, but a lot of clients don't want a monster. You can still be a 150, 60, 70, 80 pound dude, and just be fit. And they want a guy that they can walk into Starbucks. Like, I'm borderline almost too big sometimes because, like, and I'm not that big. Like, I'm 5'10" and with my good shoes on, 230, 240, depending on how I'm behaving at the time. You know what I mean? So, but like, people still kind of look at me, and like, for some of my more corporate clients, they're kind of like they don't want the attention. So they like guys that are just like martial artists, but, you know, or dangerous, but like look like a gray man, you know? So, you know, gone are the days where you have to be a monster, but like, you need to be a monster in some way.
Yeah, it helps.
It helps everything.
Look at Mayweather's bodyguards.
Yeah, bro. They're monsters. You know?
Yeah. Ain't nobody going there. Well, I appreciate you coming out, man.
This has been awesome.
It's been great, man. A lot of good stuff. Anything you want to shout out, or where can they find you at?
Yeah, man. So you can find me primarily on IG, Byron_Rodgers on IG. You can look me up on YouTube. Same thing. If you Google my name, Byron Rodgers, RODGERS, you can go to my website, ByronRodgers.com or ByronRodgersMotivation.com. If you want to get into EP, you'll find all that there. If you want to get into executive protection, you want to learn how to protect your family, you want to train in person or get a whole education online about protection, I'm here to multiply protectors, make the world a safer place.
So good, man. Appreciate you coming out, man. That was dope.
It's such an honor.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Boom.